Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. There you go. Are we all awake today?
Yes.
Okay, good. How you all doing? Good. I want to say thank you, first of all, for having me here today. And I also want to say congratulations to all of you for the fine work that you're doing. Thank you for the hard work that you're doing. I know that it's not easy when it comes to abuse and victims and prosecution and trying to do the right thing. I don't even know really where to start because, first of all, there's a lot of things on my mind. Also, I wore this jacket in honor of the great police of our state of New Jersey, and thank you all for working so hard. My grandfather was a military man, and actually my family is from the East Coast. My whole family was raised in Toledo, Ohio, and my grandfather fought in the Second World War, so we have a lot of military jackets that I was raised with. So a lot of people see me wearing that in the press, and they always think that it's some kind of fashion statement, but a lot of it actually has to do with the fact that I'm very proud of my grandfather and what he achieved. He was a very high-ranking soldier. He actually, well-deservedly, wore the Purple Heart, which, as many of you know, is a very, very respected commendation. And he earned it because he was actually on the front line during World War II and actually killed men with his own hands. And there's actually blood on the jacket, which, you know, I wear proudly because I know that that was the blood that he shed while fighting. And whether you're fighting Nazis in Germany, or whether you're fighting gangsters here in New Jersey, or whether you're fighting drunk men who decide to beat their wives or their children, or sexually abuse women on the streets, whatever the case may be, they're still the bad guys. And I think the important thing for everybody to remember is that there's a big difference between bad guys and sick people. And a lot of people have a very hard time defining that. And I think that's why a room like this today is a very good opportunity for people to get together and feel the synergy and realize that, you know, there are two very diverse situations. The difference between being somebody who is a victim and who is sick and somebody who is actually a criminal and going out and purposefully hurting other people, being a bully, are two very different things. And bullies come in all forms. You know, it can be a drunk, it can be an alcoholic, you know, and at the same time they can be a bully. Just because they're an alcoholic doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. Just because they're a drug addict doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. I know a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics who are wonderful people, but they're very ill and they need help. And I think the fact that we're still learning in this country how to diversify and understand the difference between which people are the ones that are sick and need the help, and which ones are the ones that are bad and need justice served upon them. Because there's a lot of victims out there that all they're asking for is to be heard. And at the end of the day, these people, they're not just victims of the crime, but they're also victims, as I well understand, of being harassed, of being abused, of being victimized their whole lives. And usually it's a history that's established and started at a very early age. I know for myself, speaking personally, I was a victim of abuse from a very early age. And I've endured abuse for a great part of my life. A lot of people don't understand this, and a lot of people don't realize this. They think, you know, you come from Hollywood, you're a celebrity, you know, you probably don't have to deal with much because, you know, your life is so cush and you live in this kind of sheltered world. But the reality of it is, I still deal with abuse today. I dealt with a lot more of it as a child, but I still deal with it on certain levels today. Today, the abuse that I deal with comes in the form of the media. So today, those are the bullies, you know, and they're still bullying. I've got news for you. As a matter of fact, I wanted to highlight something that I experienced on my way here this morning, and I may make a couple people squirm in their chairs on this one, and I don't want to, but it's something that I must put out there. I took my time to do an interview with the Philadelphia Daily Mail to help support this event, because I think it's very important that we get this message out, and I love what you guys are doing in honoring those people who have fought for victims' rights. So I am here to support the people who've been abused, the people who are working so hard and diligently to help restore the faith from those victims in the community, in the law enforcement, and in the prosecution of that. However, when I did this interview, I did it, I took my own time. I took a moment out of my busy day with my child, which I treasure those moments very much. I value my time with my child, just like the rest of you. When I'm working, and when I have family time, I have family time. But I did an interview with this gentleman, and I read the interview today in the paper, and there was 3 or 4 times where he took shots at me. And I thought, I'm coming down here to do a positive thing, to convey a positive message, to try and spread awareness and make a positive statement today. And instead, you're going to take this opportunity to insult my music, to insult my career, and basically take cheap shots, which I found very intrusive and very offensive. And that, to me, was a great place to start the speaking engagement today. Because what I found in that is I thought, look at this. This is how cynicism affects our lives. This is how cynicism affects society today, is even when somebody is coming to do something positive on behalf of your request. I've been brought here on behalf of you. And yet, this guy, even though he's reporting this positive event that's about to take place, he still feels that he must take cheap shots at me to try and sell newspapers. That is disgusting to me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell it like it is. It's disgusting. There's no need for that. We're here today because we believe in a positive message. We're here today because we want to help our fellow human beings. We want to help one another, raise spirits, make people believe that there is hope, that we can go through an abuse situation, we can go through abuse in our lives, and we can come out the other side and we can look at the future and say there is hope for a better tomorrow. And I believe there is always hope for a better tomorrow. If you have faith in God and you believe in positive energy, everything can get better. I come from a place, and I don't mean to complain about something that's so trivial, because to me it's very trivial, trust me. I'll go home and I'll forget all about it. And then I'll read 10 other articles where they do the same thing. And I'm used to that, and that's okay, because that's part of being in the media. That's part of being a celebrity. You got to take it as it comes. We all have our ups and downs. But that said, my life started with a lot more abuse than that. I know some of you have bought my book today. Thank you for purchasing those. And for those of you who have read it already, thank you for taking the time to read about it. For those of you who have yet to read it and are about to, I applaud you on your courage to take that journey with me. It was not an easy journey for me to take. When I was born into what we would mostly consider human slavery. From the age of 3 years old, I started working. And I was working under a California work permit, which means I was state licensed to work at 3 years old. Now, most people don't think about the rights of a child and whether or not they are planning to go out and work at 3 years old. Most people don't think about the fact that when this kid gets back from nursery school, he's got to get ready for his day job. That's not a reality in most people's minds. But that was a reality in my mind. That was a reality in my life. I couldn't go play with other kids. I couldn't go plan a sleepover. I couldn't do things that most kids do because I was committed to my job. And the reason I was committed to my job is because that's what my parents told me I was doing. I think it's a travesty to put children into the entertainment business. I'm going to say that right up front. I think it's a travesty. I don't mind kids doing a commercial here or there. I don't mind seeing, obviously life imitates art, art imitates life. You can't make a movie or a TV show about a family without having a child in it. It just won't work. We're not going to have a bunch of adults dressed up as kids. But that said, I also don't believe that you need to take a child and put them on a pedestal. I don't believe that you need to make them a superstar. You don't need to put billboards of them or put them on the cover of magazines Because what that does is that forever alters the identity of that child. Now that child has got the pressure of leading by example, of making all the right choices, of being scrutinized and criticized for the rest of their lives. That is literally just setting those kids up for bullying, for antagonists, for people to feel like they need to put them in their place. And why do they need to be put in their place? Because their parents chose to give them a career at a very young age. You see, it wasn't that kid's choice. Justin Bieber didn't come out and say, I'm going to be the biggest superstar in the world. Yeah, maybe now he has turned into a bit of a punk and maybe he is causing problems. But that's all as a result of the fact that his life is so messed up, he doesn't know any better. Because he didn't get a chance to live a normal childhood. Just like I didn't get a chance to live a normal childhood. So at 3 years old, I was working for a living. And by 7 years old, when my parents split up, I was the main breadwinner supporting that family. Now when I started at 3, my sister was also working. She was in a little TV show you might have heard of called the New Mickey Mouse Club. And she was one of the Mouseketeers. So for those of you that was around in the 50s, and for those of you who are a little bit younger, that were around in the 70s, there were a couple different renditions of the Mickey Mouse Club. And then for those of you who are even a little bit younger, you were around in the 80s when they had like Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake on the Mickey Mouse Club. But anyway, that was what started my childhood, was going to the set and seeing all of that and being around it all the time. So I was just there to support until one day they asked me to jump into the fire. Now, as a kid, I thought it was fun. I didn't realize what was happening was work. To me, this was the great escape. And the reason why it was a great escape is because I was being abused at home. So for me, to be able to go to work and put in makeup and costumes and go into fantasy land, that was an escape for me. That was a way for me to get away from the reality, which was horrific and shocking in my own home. And that reality was abuse. That's what I was raised with. That's what I knew. All I knew was that when I was 3 years old, most kids are figuring out how to walk. They're figuring out how to talk and complete sentences, color, things like that. I would be stuck in a room by my mom, and she would say, here's a song, and I don't want you to come out of that room until you learn that song. And I would have to memorize the song. I would just sit there and sing it over and over and over. A lot of people say, I didn't know that you sang. Oh, you have a music career. I didn't know that you sang. When did you start singing? And I said, well, when I was 3. I actually started singing before I started acting. A lot of people don't know that. But the way that I would sing is I would go into an audition and I would sing some cheesy little song. And because I was this kind of cute kid singing off key, some cheesy little song, they would actually feel sorry for me and they would give me the job. It was a good manipulation, well thought out, I guess, by my mom. But at the end of the day, that's actually what got me jobs. And I started that career very early on, and basically if I didn't learn that song, I wasn't let out of the room. Same thing happened with scripts. Once I went on to start learning, TV show scripts and movie scripts and things like that, I would be locked in a room and I would be told I couldn't come out of the room until I memorized that script. Now that was how I spent my days. And that's not abuse to me. I mean, it is, but it's not in my world. In my world, that was just another day. But the abuse part was when I wasn't allowed to eat because my mom called me fat. I don't know if you guys think I'm fat today, but I'll give you, this is what I look like today. Okay, but to my mom, and I really haven't changed much, to be honest with you, but my mom called me fat. She used to tell me I was a